Shedeur Sanders was drafted as a future piece, not a Week 7 solution. But circumstances in Cleveland have shifted fast, and what once seemed like a long-term plan is now being reconsidered as an immediate necessity. With the offensive line collapsing and the quarterback room in disarray, Sanders' name has surged to the top of the conversation, not because he's the most experienced, but because he might be the most composed. His track record at Jackson State and Colorado proved he can weather pressure. Now, with key voices like Tony Grossi flipping their stance, the door is wide open for him to step into a starting role under the league's brightest spotlight. This isn't just a roster move, it's a strategic pivot. The Browns are bleeding games, the locker room looks shaken, and Kevin Stefanski is running out of lifelines. Putting Sanders under center against the Dolphins could do more than shake up the depth chart. It could change the team's trajectory. He's smart, marketable, and fearless. If the front office wants to send a message that the season isn't over and that the future starts now, there may never be a more defining moment than this one. Tony Grossi went from critic to catalyst in one segment, and the ripple effect has turned the entire Cleveland Browns quarterback situation into a full-blown media storm. For years, Grossi has been one of the most no-nonsense voices in Cleveland sports. He doesn't hand out hype, he doesn't jump on bandwagons, and he's certainly not in the business of promoting narratives just because they're loud. So when he suddenly demands Shedeur Sanders start next week against the Miami Dolphins, it's not just surprising, it's a red siren blaring across the franchise. Grossi didn't hedge his words. He didn't suggest it as a future option or an experimental plan. He straight up called for a change. Start Shedeur now. And he didn't do it because Shedeur's a fifth-round rookie with upside. He did it because the Browns have officially run out of time to pretend that business as usual is still working. The offense is broken. The line can't hold up. Dillon Gabriel, the quarterback stuck at the center of this chaos, is taking punishment every week. He's not thriving. He's barely surviving. Under pressure, behind a collapsing offensive line, in a stale, conservative system, Gabriel is being asked to hold together something that's already fallen apart. And the worst part? The team doesn't look like it believes in any of it anymore. Grossi's statement isn't just about Shedeur's potential, it's about the vacuum of leadership on this team. He's reflecting what a lot of people inside and outside the organization are already thinking. This isn't just a quarterback problem. It's a direction problem. And Kevin Stefanski, for all his coaching strengths, seems paralyzed by indecision when the moment calls for boldness. The Dolphins are next. And no, their defense isn't elite. They've given up big plays. They're beatable. Which is exactly why this is the moment. If the Browns are going to try anything to revive their offense, this is the game to do it. Not 2 weeks from now. Not once the team is out of the playoff conversation. Because if they lose again with Gabriel under center, if this offense sputters through another game with zero vertical threat and no rhythm, the blame doesn't fall on the offensive line.
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
It falls squarely on the staff for choosing this route over and over again when another option has been staring them in the face. That's where Shedeur Sanders comes in. Sanders isn't just ready, he's uniquely built for this moment. He's been under pressure. He's dealt with high expectations. He's played with weaker offensive lines and still produced. From Jackson State to Colorado, he's been in environments where he had to lead through chaos. He didn't flinch then, and there's no sign that he would flinch now. What makes this even more pressing is how clearly the locker room energy is fading. When the same problems pile up week after week, players check out. Body language changes. Post-game interviews get shorter. That spark of belief disappears. Shedeur Sanders might not be a miracle worker, but he's one of the only people on the roster right now who can change the atmosphere just by walking into the huddle. His composure, his confidence, his leadership, those things matter. Especially on a team that looks like it's waiting for someone to give them a reason to believe again. And it's not just internal. The outside world is watching too. Shedeur isn't just a quarterback. He's a media presence. He's marketable. He has brand recognition. The NFL doesn't just want players who can win, They want players who move the needle. And Sanders? He's one of the only rookies with a real platform before even starting a game. Every team wants a quarterback who can lead, perform, and represent the franchise. Sanders checks all 3 boxes. The only thing he hasn't been given yet is the chance to prove it on the NFL field. And the Browns keep talking like that chance is coming, but then act like they're terrified to actually make it happen. That's why the pressure has now spilled out of the locker room, past the fan base, and into the media. When previously skeptical analysts and beat writers start flipping their stance, that's not just about hype, it's a signal. It means the public narrative has shifted. The media landscape is done giving Stefanski time. They want results. And right now, Shedeur Sanders is the only move left that offers anything resembling momentum. Keeping him benched isn't strategic anymore. It's self-preservation. It's fear disguised as stability. And it's the kind of move that costs head coaches their jobs. Because when you're losing and you refuse to try the one option you haven't used, the questions change. They're no longer about player development or playbook familiarity. They become about accountability, about leadership, about whether your head coach is capable of adapting when the season demands it. The Browns are at that moment. The Dolphins are the line in the sand. If they stick with Gabriel, and the offense looks anything like it has for the past few weeks, the narrative flips completely, from a struggling team to a rudderless one that's ignored every warning sign. But if they start Shedeur, everything changes. The energy in the building changes. The players perk up. The media shifts tone. The fans re-engage. Even if he doesn't throw for 300 yards, just putting him on the field resets the tone. It tells everyone watching that the Browns aren't mailing it in, that they see the problem and they're willing to act. And if Shedeur plays well, the story explodes. Suddenly the Browns are no longer a cautionary tale. They're the team that found something real in the middle of a mess. The team that took a chance and might have found a long-term answer at quarterback in a 5th-round pick everyone else overlooked. That's not just a win for the team. That's a win for the brand, for the city, for the franchise's future. There are moments in a season when everything converges: timing, pressure, desperation, opportunity. That's where the Browns are right now. And Shedeur Sanders isn't just another QB option. He's the moment. And if they miss it, they won't get another. Start him. Because continuing with the status quo isn't neutral, it's a choice. And it's the wrong one. Let us know what you think. Should Shedeur finally get the start? Is this the week Cleveland decides to do something different? Or are we about to watch this franchise make the same mistake it's been making for 20 years? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Like if you're done watching this offense stall. Share if you've been waiting for someone to make the obvious move. And subscribe, because whether the Browns start Sanders or not, we'll be watching the fallout unfold. And trust us, it's going to be loud. As media pressure reaches a boiling point, fans are practically screaming through the screen, and Tony Grossi, has completely reversed course to call for Shedeur Sanders to start now. The Browns' front office and coaching staff remain stone-faced. Quiet. Almost as if they're hoping the storm will pass if they just keep their heads down long enough. But that's not how this works anymore. Not in 2025. Not when your offense is imploding and your team's identity is vanishing in real time. There are moments in every NFL season where indecision is more dangerous than a bad decision. And right now, Kevin Stefanski is staring straight into that moment. Because if the Browns run it back again with Dillon Gabriel under center, behind that same broken offensive line, with that same energy-sapping playbook, then this isn't just a miscalculation. It's a decision to lose. This isn't about being unfair to Gabriel. He's been set up to fail. The hits are piling up. The pocket disappears before he even finishes his drop. The offense is so predictable that defenses are jumping routes before the snap. The system is outdated, and the personnel is tired. But you still have one card left to play. Shedeur Sanders. A quarterback who isn't just waiting to be told he's ready, he knows he is. A quarterback who's been under more pressure in college football than most rookies experience their entire first year in the league. A quarterback who's dealt with fame, scrutiny, expectations, and chaos, and never once backed down. And now he's watching this offense sputter and stall every Sunday, knowing he can bring more to the table. Not because he's perfect, but because he's prepared. Every week that goes by with Shedeur on the sideline is a wasted opportunity to change the story. Not just the scoreboard, the story. The one that's being written, right now, by every sports network, every radio segment, and every tweet from a frustrated fan. This story is no longer about Gabriel's struggles. It's about the choice to keep him in. It's about the refusal to adapt when the evidence is already overwhelming. It's about a coaching staff more afraid of shaking things up than they are of losing again. And let's be real, Tony Grossi changing his tune wasn't just a throwaway take. This is a guy who's built his career on brutal honesty, even when it's unpopular. He was not on the Shedeur Sanders bandwagon. He was skeptical, cautious. He didn't buy into the hype. So when someone like Grossi, someone who never gives rookies the benefit of the doubt, goes on record demanding Sanders get the start, that means the dam has officially broken. The media isn't just asking for a change. They're expecting it. And if it doesn't come, the backlash won't just be loud, it'll be sustained. Because this is no longer about potential. This is about urgency. You look at the schedule and you realize, if the Browns wait any longer, it's over. Not mathematically, but spiritually. The locker room knows. The veterans know. The rookies feel it. Once the season becomes about damage control, there's no getting it back. That's why this Dolphins game is the turning point. Their defense isn't elite, but it's aggressive. It's beatable, but only if your offense has something, anything, that resembles rhythm. Right now, Cleveland has none. So what's the harm in starting Shedeur? There is no rational argument left. He's studied the playbook. He's got command of the offense. He's been groomed for this role since high school. His college experience wasn't fluff. It was high volume, high pressure, and full of adversity. He handled it. He thrived in it. He showed poise when his team was down and confidence when the game was on the line. So what exactly are we waiting for? Another game of 3-and-outs? Another week of, we'll evaluate everything? Another post-game presser where Stefanski insists the plan is working, even though everyone watching knows it's not? The Browns don't need another press release. They need a spark. And there is only one player on that sideline who still offers it. Shedeur Sanders isn't a long-term experiment anymore. He's the now move. And if he plays well, he becomes the future move too. What's the alternative? Lose with the same personnel and the same excuses? Watch the fanbase check out in November? Let Shedeur make his debut when it no longer matters and miss the chance to let him grow while the games still matter? Because that's what this is really about. It's not just about this week. It's about whether the Browns are ready to commit to something. To stop hiding behind PR lines and conservative coaching. To stop being afraid of change just because it means admitting they were wrong earlier. There's no shame in pivoting. The shame is in staying the course when the path is obviously, undeniably broken. If the Browns start Sanders and it doesn't work, fine. At least they'll have answers. At least they'll have tried. But if they keep him shelved while Gabriel gets flattened again, the only thing they'll gain is more questions. And more losses. This is the crossroads. It's not theoretical anymore. The media has shifted. The fans have shifted. The energy inside the locker room is shifting. And if the coaching staff doesn't shift with it, then it's not just the offense that'll collapse, it's the foundation. Because this isn't just about one player. It's about how teams respond when they're on the brink. Whether they act or freeze. Whether they listen or hide. Right now, the Browns are freezing. And it's turning into a crisis of leadership. But it doesn't have to be. Shedeur Sanders is right there. Ready. Already respected. Already built for this. He's not afraid of the pressure. He's not afraid of the spotlight. He's not waiting for everything to be perfect. He's waiting for the opportunity. And if Cleveland doesn't give it to him this week, they'll miss the one chance they had to turn this season into something other than another rebuild. And let's be absolutely clear, this is no longer about taking a gamble. This is the only logical move left on the table. Because what the Browns are doing right now, that's the actual risk. Sticking with what's failed. Hoping it'll just fix itself. praying that the same quarterback behind the same broken offensive line is suddenly going to outplay the pressure, outthink the coverage, and outscore Miami? That's not strategy, that's denial. Everyone sees it. The fans in the stands. The media in the booths. Even the players on the sidelines. You can feel it in the body language. The offense walks onto the field like they've already seen the ending. There's no urgency, no belief, and no surprise why. Because week after week, the result is the same. The system is stale. The spark is gone. But you start Shedeur Sanders next week, and instantly, everything changes. Not because he's going to drop 5 touchdowns on his first NFL start. Not because he's going to turn into a superstar overnight. But because it represents something. It's a shift. A signal that the Browns are willing to try. That they're not too proud to pivot. That they actually want to win. Not just look competent while losing. And let's not downplay what Sanders brings beyond the stat sheet. You're not just getting a quarterback with talent. You're getting a leader with edge. A personality with presence. A guy who carries himself like the moment belongs to him. You can't coach that. You can't fake it either. And Cleveland desperately needs someone who isn't afraid to step into the chaos and command it. Right now, this team is quiet. Too quiet. No fire. No noise, no personality. That locker room needs a jolt. It needs someone who brings juice, someone the defense will actually fight for, someone the wide receivers will run harder routes for. That matters. Leadership isn't just raw on the sidelines. It's walking into the huddle and owning it. That's Shedeur. And if we're being real, there's a reason this moment has built up to this exact pressure point. Because the fan base knows it. The media knows it. The league is watching. When Grossi speaks like that, when a guy who spent years criticizing the Sanders hype train suddenly jumps on board and says, "Start him now," it's not just noise. It's confirmation that the tide has turned. And that tide isn't going to wait. If Stefanski and the Browns miss this window, this precise window before the Dolphins game, they won't get another one like it. Start Sanders in week 11 or 12, and it becomes desperation. Start him now, and it's strategy. There's a big difference. Right now, this team still has a chance to control the story. But only if they're willing to stop pretending that stability equals success. Because what we're seeing on the field, that's not stability. That's stagnation. And fans are done waiting. They've watched seasons collapse before. They've heard the "we believe in our guy" pressers, the "we'll evaluate everything" responses, the "we trust the process" speeches. Those phrases have become white noise. They're hollow now. This fan base doesn't want PR polish. They want action. And what's wild is, for once, action and marketability actually align. Shedeur Sanders brings both. You start him and you're not just trying to win games. You're making your team matter again. You're getting national headlines. You're flipping the narrative from "same old Browns" to "wait, Cleveland might have something here." And let's be blunt. The NFL loves a rookie story. Especially when the rookie is Shedeur Sanders. The league wants him on the field. Networks want him in primetime. The moment he starts, the Browns aren't just relevant, they're talked about. That's brand power. That's media momentum. And yeah, football still matters. That's not getting lost in all of this. Because Shedeur's got it. Not just the presence, not just the leadership, but the mechanics. The reads. The arm. The poise. He's not perfect, and no one's pretending he is. But he's composed, intelligent, and decisive. You put him in a game situation, and he's not going to panic. And that's more than we can say for the Browns' offense right now. So again, what are they afraid of? That a fifth-round rookie might fail in the middle of a broken season? That he'll look raw or make mistakes? Welcome to every other quarterback's first month in the league. That's how it works. That's part of the process. But at least there would be a process. Right now, they're just circling the drain. Losing slowly. Week after week. The clock's ticking, the media pressure's boiling, the fan base is slipping into apathy, and the only thing they haven't tried is the one thing that might actually work. Start Shedeur Sanders. Next week. Against the Dolphins. If he struggles, fine. At least you'll know. At least you'll be building something. At least the team will see that you're not asleep at the wheel. But if he succeeds, even just enough to create rhythm, to move the ball, to wake up the energy, that could change everything. You go into Miami, you give Shedeur the reins, and suddenly Cleveland is back on the radar. Suddenly, players want to play harder. Suddenly, fans are buying in again. Because win or lose, there's something new, something worth believing in. And don't forget the wider implications here. If Sanders comes out and performs, it won't just reshape this season, it will reshape how rookie quarterbacks are evaluated league-wide. This is a fifth-round pick being treated like a first-round name. It changes the conversation. It challenges the old scouting models. And it shows that football IQ, preparation, and mentality can matter just as much as raw tools. That's the kind of ripple effect we're talking about. And yeah, it all comes down to this decision. This moment. This one move the Browns can still make that hasn't already failed. If they make it, they're back in the story. If they don't, they've answered every question anyone could ask about whether this franchise is serious about winning or not. So tell us what you think. Is it finally time? Are you ready to see Shedeur Sanders take that first NFL snap and change the direction of this team? Or do you think Cleveland's going to ride this thing into the ground before waking up? Drop your take below. Like this if you're ready for change, share it if you've been waiting all season for someone to say it, and yeah, hit subscribe because whatever happens next, it's going to be loud, and it's going to matter.